And we're live, and what a way to kind of start going live with Tara meowing in the background. Welcome back to the F1 Fanatics channel. Stephen's coming in to kind of sort Tara out. But yeah, welcome back to the F1 Fanatics channel. This is the qualifying live stream, and what a qualifying that is. Certainly some great stories to kind of pick up from that qualifying session. What we're going to do unusual in this kind of qualifying live stream, I'll run through the kind of order. I'll discuss my thoughts of the qualifying. We'll talk to you guys in the chat, of course, as always, kind of getting your thoughts and opinion. Look ahead to the race probably a bit tomorrow as well. But I'm just going to kind of tweet and that we are live. So thank you for everyone who is in chat at the moment. But just... But what a qualifying that was there. Just let us know in the chat below what you think of that. It's just... absolutely incredible there. Sam O'Gara, hi Sam, welcome there. I mean, sorry that Roman Grosjean didn't get out of Q1, but come on, Williams, both Williams into Q2. That's incredible. Right, tweet sent. Let me get ready to round up everything on the results of qualifying. But geez, that was some fantastic results in there. So we'll round up the order. So Lewis Hamilton, of course, setting a new track record. The Mercedes is just in a different Formula One, basically, at the moment. It is absolutely incredible. He set a new lap record and beating his teammate only by 1/10, I think it was, in the end. Valtteri Bottas put in a very good last lap, but just couldn't match there. Lance Stroll, really enjoyed that quali. Looking forward to the race. Brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Lance Stroll. Obviously, just jumping out the car, it must, pretty impressive for you to manage to get into this chat and qualify on that. But I suppose you're very happy with P3 in qualifying, so you wanted to kind of boast about it. But yes, Valtteri Bottas P2, Lance Stroll P3, and Sergio Perez P4, making it basically a Mercedes lockout of row 1 and 2 with the copy of the Mercedes of the Racing Points. Deanna Troy, both Williams in Q2. I know, amazing. But yeah, Ferrari's having their best qualifying of the season so far. Vettel beating his teammates in P5, Leclerc P6. Verstappen could only manage P7, and obviously a track that historically is good for the Red Bulls wasn't great at all for today. He could only manage a P7. Lando Norris in P8, again out-qualifying teammate Carlos Sainz, who was in P9, who might be under threat of a 3 grid place penalty if he's found to have been blocking Giovinazzi in Q1. Pierre Gasly rounded off the top 10, didn't set a time because he had issues. The car basically failed in Q2 for him, but impressive for Pierre Gasly getting that AlphaTauri into Q2 and out-qualifying other Red Bull driver Alexander Albon. Both Renaults went out in Q2. Daniel Ricciardo finishing P11. George Russell with an absolutely mega lap getting in P12, qualifying outright on pace ahead of Alexander Albon, who was P13. Esteban Ocon was P14, and Nicholas Latifi making it another Williams driver in Q2, the first time that has happened since Monza in 2018. Absolutely incredible performance by Williams. They're better at Hungary. They performed strongly there. George Russell was very close to getting in Q2 last year, and epic from him certainly today. Definitely worth of wearing the Williams shirt, I think. Kevin Magnussen narrowly misses out on Q2. He qualifies in P16, but ahead of Roman Grosjean, who was in P18. Daniel Kvyat really struggling, P17 for his AlphaTauri, and considering that his teammate made it into Q3, not good for the Russian driver there. Antonio Giovinazzi 19 and Raikkonen P20, making them look really the Williams of this year. The Alfa Romeo's pace just is absolutely nowhere. Just looking in the chat quickly, Formula 0.5 for the Mercedes from David Xavier. Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes just look incredible. Haven't seen a 1, 2, 3, 4 since the 50s. Yep, Sam making a joke about it going there. Mark, Lancey boy, booyah! Yeah, definitely a great performance in that. Sargent got a penalty in F3, Viscal podium. Oh, very interesting. Was that retrospectively for the instant in turn 1? I thought he was cleared initially in that. That was from the F3 race earlier. Haas and Alfa Romeo in the bottom 5. Yeah, it doesn't look great for them, but it is great for Williams. They certainly have found something in the qualifying pace. Leandro Arujo, this good quality from Russell and killing my fantasy team. I want him at 19th to start there. Absolutely, I took Russell out in the qualifier, out of my fantasy team, just because he's going to do really good, but I don't think the Williams race pace is going to be quite as good. But amazing qualifying, I thought, and some really kind of things. The first big story, I've got to talk about it. Both Williams in that Q2, absolutely amazing. And George Russell's lap in Q1 was so good, And they were talking about it on the Sky Pad with Anthony Davidson and Karun Shandok, that basically they were just kind of going, that Williams car just looks so good in his hand. Martin Brundle was comparing the kind of driving style of George Russell to Jenson Button. There's just such a smoothness and classness to it. And yeah, absolutely brilliant performance from there. But also it has to be noted, really good. Nicholas Latifi has had a really challenging start to his F1 career, with obviously starting COVID. The Williams car, it's failed him a few times. Really impressive performance from Nicholas Latifi, getting his car into Q2 as well. So that definitely needs to be applauded. You know, a lot of critics saying that he's only there for the money, and you know, he may well be. It's too early to kind of say what Nicholas Latifi will be, but that qualifying performance definitely needs to be noted in terms of that. But yeah, the Q1 boys of Alfa Romeo and Haas, their qualifying pace really doesn't look great, and it doesn't look great for that Ferrari power unit, but Haas definitely look quicker in the race. So I expect Haas actually, and in the hands of Kevin Magnussen, to probably have quite a good race. David said a grid penalty for Russell will help in F1 fantasy. It definitely would, but I don't think he's going to get a grid penalty at all. I hope it'll rain tomorrow. Russell's skills outbeat the car in this conditions. Well, absolutely. The rain race last year in Germany, George Russell, if the Lance Stroll kind of got fourth last year, Russell wanted to go in the same strategy. So he might have actually got points in the Williams last year if they listened to him there. So I definitely, in the rain goes from there. Ferrari P5 and P6 feels like a 1-2. Definitely. Their car definitely has a more downforce setup in getting P5 and P6, considering the Mercedes and the Racing Point. Well, the Racing Point just kind of seems to have a very good car, copy of last year's championship winning car, so it was always going to be good. But yeah, the Ferrari P5 and P6 definitely really good, and a great performance from Sebastian Vettel outperforming Charles Leclerc, but definitely good in there. In YouTuber news, Motor Meerkat hit 2,000 subs. Fantastic news. Congratulations to Motor Meerkat on that achievement. Back to it, the Red Bull, really, yeah, on a track that historically does great for them, really struggled out there today. Max Verstappen wrestling everything he could to get a P7 in there. Alexander Albon, though, he looks like a guy publicly criticising the team on team radio on where they put him out. That is not good signs. It looks like the pressure is getting to Alexander Albon to me. And, you know, his performance, he was off Max Verstappen last week in Austria. That Red Bull quietly is not a great car. Certainly hasn't kind of got the performance from it, but you know, Alexander Albon really is struggling, and I don't know if he's going to go the way of Pierre Gasly. The pressure is starting to build on him, and to be beaten by George Russell and be beaten by Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, you know, the Red Bull doesn't look great, but it certainly doesn't. It's certainly not as bad as Alex made it in that one. It's not good times for Alex Albon, and I'm worried because he's a nice lad, and he takes everything personally, and he really does look like a guy worried and on the edge at the moment. Deanna Troy, it really does show the problems that Red Bull are having this weekend, that Russell qualified Albon on pace. That wasn't anything to do with Albon's car. That was just on pace. Rocks coming in, bye Alex. Red Bull aren't the forgiving team, and if you publicly slam them on your radio, it's certainly not going to look good. That is definitely something that will damage their relationship. Our last weekend talks are coming true for Alex. I think it is, in terms of that. The Hondas have started blowing up since Alonso announced his return. Oh dear, Oh no, that's a terrible joke. Helmut Marco, Alex remembered what we said about Pierre last year at this track. Well, your seat is safe too. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, this was the last race that Pierre Gasly had in a Red Bull last year before he got dropped. But hopefully, yeah, with the Vettel rumours and Alexander Albon, how he is, I do definitely think that Red Bull are going to need to bring in an experienced driver to that seat. I think they're struggling. This is a serious point with Red Bull. Max Verstappen, obviously, he's still a young driver himself. Yes, he's been in F1, but he's leading the development. In Pierre Gasly and Alexander Albon, they wouldn't have been getting great feedback and drivers who could really develop that car well. And that's putting a lot of pressure on Max as well. And he's not having drivers to push his own performance on track. So I think Red Bull have seriously, if they want to be challengers again, I think they've seriously got to look at bringing in an experienced guy in that second seat, whether that's Sergio Perez or Sebastian Vettel. I genuinely think both of those would be brilliant options. I don't think Alexander Albon is the answer to what Red Bull need at this time to be competing with Mercedes, because Mercedes is just, bam, they are on a tier of their own, really, on this one. Kids love F1. Albon's getting gassy. I do feel sorry for Alex because he is a lovely bloke, but yeah, it's on there. Sam and Mark, obviously big fans of the feeder series, talking about Teo's win in the F3 earlier. That was a fantastic performance. But back to qualifying, very solid performance, I think, from the McLarens. They always knew that they weren't going to be competing with it'd be interesting to see where their race pace is. If it's another double points finish, it proves a consistency, I think, in that McLaren car that's good. But I think Lando Norris beating Carlos Sainz again. I mean, obviously, he beat him in qualifying in one lap pace over the season last year. But I think Lando Norris in his second season, his level of performance really is fantastic. I think not enough can be said for how well Lando Norris is doing in that McLaren this year, performance-wise. Talking about, obviously, Stroll, I always think Perez isn't a great qualifier. His performances come on a race day. So, but still very impressive that Lance Stroll out-qualified and has got P3, the highest position, I think. Is it the highest position Lance has qualified, or did he qualify third when he was in the wet for Williams in Monza in 2017? That would certainly help me out in chat on that one. Hey, Ali F1, thanks for joining us in chat. Make sure you go and check out Ali F1's channel if you get a chance. Great content on there. P2 was it in Monza, so not Lance Stroll's best performance, but still a mega effort. And obviously the Mercedes and the Racing Points were the only cars who were able to qualify in Q2 on the medium compound. So it literally is just going to be a fight in the race. I can't see the Racing Points being able to match the Mercedes in the race. So it's hopefully Bottas takes the fight to Hamilton in the race tomorrow. And I imagine it'd be interesting to see, but I imagine Lance Stroll will get, not Lance Stroll, Sergio Perez will get that podium position tomorrow. But it'd be interesting to see how those Racing Points fight. But also be interesting to see Ferrari's race pace. Can they compete with the Racing Points in race pace? Because in the races so far, the Racing Points clearly have this really quick car, but they haven't necessarily transferred it to the results that they should be getting. So I think we could have quite an interesting one from there. Hi, Haley. Lunch is ready. Thanks on that. Maybe a bit late for lunch. We're 20 past 3 on that front. Rox is asking, did you make it for all of us? Nice on there. But yes, Rox, whether Marco likes him or not, they need to bring Kvyat back. He knows the car and can drive it well. It also is good at giving feedback. I feel that Red Bull have stuffed Kvyat here because Alex Albon shouldn't have got the Red Bull seat last year. For me, it should have gone for Daniel Kvyat. He'd gone away from the sport. He'd been the Ferrari test driver. He was beating Albon in the first half of the season. He'd got the podium in the Toro Rosso in Germany last year. He was doing very well. Strong performances had come well, and they crushed him by not giving that seat. And you could tell by the way that he was publicly cheesed off by the fact that Alex Albon was given that seat, and his performances haven't been the same since. So I wouldn't actually give Daniel Kvyat that Red Bull seat, because I think Red Bull have managed Daniel Kvyat incredibly poorly. Alex Albon should have been allowed time. They should have put Gasly back in that AlphaTauri Toro Rosso, and they should have been young drivers together, allowed time to kind of develop, improve their skills, and kind of improve themselves in F1. Daniel Kvyat was the ready guy from their program, from their bubble, that they could have promoted halfway through the season, because he came back and he was a better driver, and they've really stuffed that up, so that now I think their only options really are Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez. So definitely a go from there. Ali, Mercedes looking the most dominant they've ever been, and that's scary. It's literally getting to 2014 levels of dominance with Hamilton and Rosberg in there. Apart from, I'm not sure if Bottas can take the fight to Hamilton like Rosberg did. This really does, for me, I wouldn't be afraid to go and put serious money on Lewis Hamilton having the 7th championship there. I imagine the odds are pretty poor, because it just literally does look like it's in the bag. Verstappen is pissed, will want to go, but where can he go? No, he wouldn't want to go to Ferrari. I don't think he'd want to go for the Aston Martin seat. It would probably be Mercedes. Mercedes have the advantage in this engine regulations, which I think is to 2025 before we get an engine regs. So he may want to go for the 2022 season if Hamilton decides to walk away at the end of the 2021 season, getting 8 world championships. Because at the moment, I know next season's a new season, but with the kind of rules frozen and everything pretty much is the same, I don't think the teams can make up the gap to Mercedes that currently is. I can see Hamilton quite comfortably winning the next 2 championships, and then maybe it does bring into Max Verstappen, certainly on that front. Mercedes would not sign Verstappen, especially with Russell in the pipeline. I don't think they would, but with Russell, I don't even know. With the performances that George Russell is putting in that Williams, if you put him in a Mercedes now, I think he would straight away be competitive. So, yeah, I don't think Mercedes maybe would go for Max Verstappen, because Russell he's the Hamilton mold for me. He's very good PR-wise. He's, very good publicity-wise. He's incredibly talented. He gets his head down. He gets the job done. So I think everything is literally on George Russell to get that seat in 2022. Completely agree. And the new calendar is fully in their favour. Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is a Mercedes favourite on that front. It is scary how good Mercedes is, and it's scary how good Lewis Hamilton is. He's going to be, he's 35 now, Lewis Hamilton, and he shows no signs of getting worse. He's just still so good. And with the Mercedes this far ahead of the field, it's going to be interesting. Tomorrow, I really want to see Bottas push Hamilton all the way. And if Bottas can beat Hamilton, I said it yesterday in the live stream on the weekly news show, if Bottas can beat Hamilton at a Hamilton stronghold tomorrow, that might be the start of starting to get in Hamilton's head a bit. But if Hamilton wins tomorrow, he's just steamrolling everything from there. Now I think Seb, chances are increasing for Red Bull. Christian is saying no, but he's done it in the past. Yeah, I mean, I've spoken about it well and truly in the past. When Red Bull say no, that doesn't mean no. that means no at this exact moment in time. But if you ask me in a couple of hours' time, we might have signed Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, Mercedes is just a better team overall. Hi, Ed. Thanks for joining in the chat. But yeah, Mercedes are they're an incredible team, what they've done in this turbo hybrid era. And 2022 is the only time I can see teams getting close to them with the rule changes. But with how good a team Mercedes are and how good they are to adapt into changes and how good that Mercedes engine now, for me, is comfortably the top engine on the grid. Yeah, that power unit, and with the engine regulations, you could probably see Mercedes not great for probably competitiveness in the sport, but being competitive until the 2025 season, when I think those kind of changes will come in. But what do you guys think in the chat? Let me know with questions. Ed Butler, Williams, though. Yeah, Williams absolutely incredible today. And George Russell can't get enough high praise for how good that qualifying performance was for him today. That was incredible. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, get involved in the comments below, in the chat. Let me know any questions you want from there. Mark, have Honda gone backwards? I don't think Honda have gone backwards. I just don't think they've gone forwards. Or if they have gone forwards, I think Renault have jumped them. Well, actually, Renault were ahead of Honda anyway, and they've maintained being ahead. And Mercedes have just gone from there. Is my fantasy team still doing well? I think so, Hayley. I think so. She's just in the other room in terms of that. She actually, that is a funny thing in F1 Fantasy. Obviously, me and Stephen do the F1 Fantasy Weekly. Completely forgot Hayley made a team, and she's beating both of us, having known very little about Formula One other than having to kind of put up with me talking about it all the time. Took Mercedes 4 years to build the team after Brawn GP. Got the right people, the right driver, good stable team overall. Absolutely. I mean, Mercedes are the perfect mold and the perfect model. They've literally copied what Ferrari did with Michael Schumacher in 1996. Get your talented driver who you want to build the team around, build up to a level that you're competitive at, go on and dominate the sport until the sport changes the rules to stop you winning, which is literally what F1 had to do in 2005 to hamper Ferrari. So, going for that. McLaren ain't done so well this weekend. I think McLaren have done well considering where McLaren are, because Ferrari were always going to improve. They were always going to be better. And the Racing Point, McLaren can't compete with the 2019 Mercedes. So McLaren they're still essentially from last year's model, I think, still ahead of where everything should be. And in 2022, and with the Mercedes engine actually in 2021, I think that McLaren will be very good. Because like I said, I think that Mercedes power unit is just on another level to everything else on the grid. Russell driving style similar to Jensen Button. Yeah, that was obviously mentioned on commentary by Martin Brundle. Definitely there. He's a very smooth driver, George Russell, from there. McLaren in a similar 4-year journey since Sidorn Brown came in. Yeah, I think so. McLaren historically have been a top team within Formula One, and they've had this kind of down period, but they definitely seem a team going up, and I definitely back them to be competitive and challenging at the top of the grid in 2022 with how things are going. But looking ahead to the race tomorrow, can't see anything other than the Mercedes battling each other. Podium could be a fight if the Ferrari managed to do something well within the race. But I do think it's Sergio Perez to lose based on Austria last week. I think Sergio Perez will get his first podium of the season, and I don't think it will be his only podium of the season with how that Racing Point is shaping up. Verstappen, how will Verstappen do in the race? That's a question. They don't even have a strategy advantage. If Verstappen can get into the top 5, I think that's a very good performance for him, personally. What if it rains tomorrow? If it rains tomorrow, I think we're going to have a very interesting race, because we've just seen, I think, just a wet track kind of stirred things up a lot in the F3 race earlier, and with a drying track. If there's rain tomorrow, I think rain always equals good race. I think it's like a well-known formula within Formula One. If you get rain, it definitely is going to it spices things up, and it adds things in. It brings more cars into it, and it would certainly bring Max Verstappen more into play, because he's a very good driver in the wet, and also Sebastian Vettel as well. And go from there. Potential for thunderstorms for 3 and 4 p.m. That would be smack bang in the middle of the race. So that would be brilliant for the race tomorrow, certainly on that front. Ferrari can get racing points on the start due to the compound difference. They can, and shit is awesome. I definitely think they can. The medium compound was saying that it looks better for the race overall, but if Rox is right and rain does come between 3 and 4 p.m, it's going to be, very interesting to see when's the right point to pit, when's not the right point to pit. It's spicing things up strategy-wise. If there is rain, we're going to have an absolutely brilliant race tomorrow. I guarantee that. And I think we still could have some, from third downwards, I think we're going to have a brilliant race tomorrow. 1-2, forget about it. Mercedes, it's just a battle between Hamilton and Bottas. I just hope we get a fight between those two for the lead. But third and below, I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Red Bull car has some fundamental design flaws with that high rake rear end too twitchy. The end is trying to get faster speed in there. There clearly is a flaw in the Red Bull design, and I think people haven't really spoken about the flaw in the Red Bull because Ferrari have looked so bad in Austria. And obviously with their power unit, and we all know, obviously, they've had to change their power unit due to the rules that were put in play with the loophole that they found last year's rule. But yeah, Red Bull, it doesn't look. This is me. I think I genuinely think not having good drivers there for development is harming them, because Bottas and Hamilton are really experienced drivers and they've got great development. They haven't trusted in kind of young guys in there. They know what they're going to get from the thing. They know the feedback from the driver is going to be great. If I'm looking into the garage when I was starting the 2019 season, we've got a new engine, we've got the car there. Max Verstappen, you're putting a lot of pressure. You want your top talent to just go out there and drive and share the responsibility for kind of giving developmental feedback. But I feel all that feedback is weighing on Max Verstappen's shoulders at the moment, because he's carrying that team and his performances on track and off track. Gasly couldn't cope with the pressure. It looks like Albon's starting not to be able to cope with that pressure. If they can bring in an experienced guy like Vettel or Perez into that seat, I just think it would massively help Red Bull going forward. But yeah, they are the last team using the higher rake, and it certainly seems like something they've got to change in a fundamental design for. I don't know on that front. But what are your guys for my podium prediction tomorrow? I'm going to go Hamilton, Bottas, Perez. From there, what are your guys' predictions for the race tomorrow, and also your podium predictions from there? Ewok from Endor, well done to Stroll. He really surprised me in out-qualifying Perez. GG, Stroll. Yeah, I said earlier, for me, Perez has never been a strong qualifier. So if you're going to get at Perez as a teammate, it's on a Saturday and out-qualifying him, because I think he struggled. But because qualifying was always Lance Stroll's weakness, and from last year, Lance really struggled, beating him is a really big deal, I think, for Lance Stroll. And that's actually very impressive. And Lance Stroll does get a lot of flack, and I know he's got a lot of flack this week with obviously Perez being rumoured to be ousted from Aston Martin for Sebastian Vettel from there. Lance Stroll is proving that he is a competent driver. He's 20 years of age still. I know he's been in F1 for 3 years, but he's still so young. He's had to learn being a driver in Formula One, in the spotlight, having all his performances kind of ridiculed. And he's proving now that he's got a good car underneath him that he's actually a decent driver. He's not bad. It'll be interesting to see where they are in the race. He's certainly not as bad as what people make him out to be. I still think Perez has the beating of him in the race, because Perez is one of those drivers like Fernando Alonso used to do. They don't worry about the setup on the Saturday. They'll take what they can get on the Saturday. Getting pole position doesn't necessarily mean too much to them. Getting kind of the top qualifying position doesn't mean a lot. It's what happens on a Sunday and having that car perfectly set up for the race performance on a Saturday. And I think Perez is one of those drivers, and that's where you see the best from him from there. If Alex continues to perform like this, McLaren or Racing Point have a chance to come second. Yeah. I'm very much looking at the moment, and if Racing Point doesn't get thrown out with the protest, Racing Point look second in the constructors for me, because that car their understanding's getting better and better, and the performance. This traditionally is a really good track for Red Bull, and to perform as badly as they did doesn't bode well for Red Bull going forward in the season. So should I turbo Lance, Perez, or Norris? Perez. Hands down, Perez. You get more points on the race day for qualifying. I think Perez will out-qualify Lance. Either one between Lance there. Norris, I don't know how many positions he'll make up. They'll have to benefit on luck like they did in Austria. Well, not luck, but circumstances going their way for Norris to score big. I think Perez is definitely the turbo guy. I think it's too late to change a turbo there. No rain, Hamilton, Bottas, Perez. With rain, Hamilton, Max, Stroll. Very interesting podium there, definitely. I think with rain, Stroll definitely comes into play, because he's actually underrated. He's quite a good wet weather driver. Actually, he does tend to do well in chaotic races. He tends to stay out fit. And Perez of recent he's struggled in wet conditions, so he would definitely drop off. I couldn't watch Q2. How did Albon end up P3 team? Basically, he just the Red Bull handling is terrible and Albon can't get the performance. But yeah, the traffic definitely wasn't a good excuse for Albon, and it's certainly, you cannot publicly call out your team, and you definitely can't publicly call out a team like Red Bull. And David Xavier, I was talking about this point in the stream yesterday. I think Alex Albon's performances last year's were inflated by the fact that Max actually didn't have as good a second half of the season as the first half of the season. He just about did better than Pierre Gasly last year, but he still wasn't necessarily performing great. And he only benefited really from situation. He didn't really beat anyone that he wasn't supposed to beat. He only beat Max Verstappen in 2 races, in Monza, where Max started from the back and also had front wing damage, I think, from the first lap. And Bottas and Max collided or had a coming together in Mexico. And that's the only other race that Albon out-finished Max. And then he only kind of got the chance of the podium in Brazil when Bottas, Vettel and Leclerc all retired. Without that, he wasn't really in the picture. So I think Albon has done, I don't think he did decent last year. I think he did okay. And we're now starting to see that over a consistent time that his performance isn't necessarily standing out. People are starting to go, actually, did he do great? And I think the answer to that was no. But yeah, Albon was the turbo last year, and he was a brilliant turbo driver for F1 fantasy. But yeah, this year, wouldn't touch it with person. Bottas grew up driving in the snow. He can hold his own in the wet conditions. He can, but I wouldn't say Bottas is necessarily renowned for it in Formula One. But he definitely has a performance. But if it's night and day, the difference between Bottas and Hamilton in the rain. So I definitely think if it's a wet race or rain comes into play, Hamilton is definitely going to have to go from there. I turboed Norris, but I think it is time to switch to Perez. Hats off to Lance, though. He is pulling his weight and then some. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, JB. Thanks for coming into the chat. No, I didn't infect you with Teo in a great virus, but the Lance is good when it rains virus. You've affected me with both, Mark. That's definitely on that front. Stroll P3. Wow, didn't expect that. Hey, the guy qualifying definitely has improved. Sorry if the webcam keeps going out, in and out focus. Not sure on that front. Maybe I'm moving my hands kind of too much on that front. But why is Williams qualifying very well, but then falling back in the race? I think they have a very quick race, a very quick car, clearly, but they're struggling maybe to find the performance in the tyres over the duration of a race. I think also Haas are having that problem as well. Well, no, sorry. McLaren are having that problem. They have a very quick pace car, but their race pace, for some reason, isn't quite the same. Or go from there. Go for now. I'm letting you guys obviously have your chat about fantasy on that front. But yeah, any other questions? Russell in the points for tomorrow. I really hope Russell gets in the points tomorrow. It would be brilliant to see George Russell get the points, but I just see that Williams dropping away, and unless there are kind of some big retirements further up, I think the Renault's definitely going to make it difficult. I think the Renault's race pace is a lot better than their qualifying pace. So expect to see the Renaults challenging in the points tomorrow. So yeah, as much as I hope it and as much as I like George, I can't see that Williams making it into the points without kind of severe thing. If rain comes into play, potentially. But other than that, probably not on that front. But yeah, I think that's probably rounding off as much as we can do on qualifying. Both Ferraris will retire with engine or gearbox failure. Oh, David, you're just compounding the trouble. And then Gasly squeaked through. He absolutely did. I'm not sure if he's going to get like a grid penalty, actually, Gasly, because his car had some serious issues in Q2, that's for sure. I think Stroll will crash with 2 Mercedes in first corner and let Sebastian through to win. Abe, as a Ferrari fan, I think you're very optimistic there. Definitely will go. Decent quality. My team, Perez, Turbo, Stroll, Verstappen, Norris and Ricciardo and Mercedes. I exchanged Gasly for Ricciardo, but hopefully we'll free tyre choice. I think Ricciardo will do better than the AlphaTauris in the race tomorrow. I think that's a very good shout, JB, actually, on that front. Expect the weather to be like Silverstone 2018. The weather in Silverstone 2018 was, I was at that race, that was a scorcher. So you're expecting it to be an absolute blinder tomorrow. Hope Gasly can get this car together before the race. Fingers crossed, go for that. Maybe Honda power cars will face electrical issues again and Russ will make it into the points. Rox, you're being hopeful there. And I know, obviously, with the Red Bull backing, I'd be surprised if you want to do that. Maybe, but I just think the McLarens, the Ferraris and Renaults all have probably a bit too much. They're going to have to rely on some reliability issues, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility going from there. Mike, don't pick AlphaTauri drivers as they're both really close. Gasly gets into Q3 was. I said that on week 1 of F1 Fantasy Weekly, JB. Don't hold me to this. But Gasly, I think I've recently said there, but I don't think the Honda powered cars are a good one to go from there. Hey, Josh, thanks for jumping in chat from there. I think Gasly is scripting his redemption arc for the Drive to Survive Season 3. Not a bad shout on oh dear, Drive to Survive will be lapping up this season. COVID-19 has provided the perfect drama story for them, that's for sure. But looks like the F2 race will be starting soon. So that's certainly going to be exciting on that one. Who's your predictions for the F2 race? Where did they qualify, actually? That's an interesting one. It was his first pole position. Oh, no, it was Callum Ilott in the rain, wasn't it? Luca Giotto finished on P2. Go from there. Some of the messages and stuff I got from Stroll fans after P3. Oh, boy. Yeah, you're certainly not going to be a popular man at the moment, Josh, are you? Gasly is really strong at the moment. I'd say he's one of the top 10 on the grid. In that AlphaTauri, I think Gasly is a very strong driver, definitely. He certainly is maximising that performance, got a bit screwed. And actually, didn't Gasly have problems with his rear wing from the Turn 3 collision last week, which also affected him on the tyre compound? But yeah, week 1, getting P7 when his brakes had an issue from like early doors, it definitely had. F2, Ilott, Schumacher, Lund. Is that your podium prediction, Rox? For the race, or was that what you were thinking in the top 3? I think that was probably podium prediction. I think Callum Ilott is doing very well in F2, actually very underrated from there. Renault will have their hands full with Gasly. I think they will, but I think they'll have the beating of him. I think Gasly can beat Ocon, but I think Ricciardo will beat Gasly, if that makes sense. But yeah, ticked him to win, Galal. Oh, no, I'm just looking forward to your next video and Sean Galal, Josh. That's for one on that front. But yes, anyway, guys, I think that's probably going to be, as the F2 is starting, and I know people kind of drop off and want to kind of watch that, it's probably a good time to kind of round things up for the quali live stream. Obviously, we will be live for the race live stream tomorrow after that. Hopefully, we're going to have an absolute brilliant race. Can't see anything other than Mercedes dominance. But like I said, third downwards, I think is going to be pros in there. Yeah, Tonka Toy Truck. It was fantastic news to hear that Chazza is coming back. Obviously, a really great channel and offered something different. And yeah, hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But by the latest, it sounds like he'll be back for the 2021 season, which will be brilliant. If you haven't already checked out Chazza's channel, please go and drop him a subscribe and wait from there. He went through a lot of kind of crap with the channel being deleted and going from there. Lunch is cold now. Oh dear, I'm in trouble with lunch. Oh, but anyway, I'm gonna go and leave. I predicted Stroll to P3 in qualifying, Galal P3 in the race. I don't know, could do. Oh dear. Yeah, but you also predicted Lance Stroll to get on the podium in race 1 of Austria. So your predictions are kind of a bit all over the place. Yeah, you saw that. Hope Chaz is back this year to race Ferrari. Absolutely. I think he'd definitely go from there. But it looks like the F2 race is about to, I think the formation lap, isn't it? About to kind of go out. So go from there. But anyway, guys, I'll round off from there. Rox, enjoy your breakfast. 8:44. I hope you're having a good breakfast in there. Thank you, everyone, for joining in the chat. It's brilliant chatting to you guys, as always. There's some kind of Brilliant conversations going on. Really enjoy kind of getting involved with that. A brilliant qualifying session for me. Brilliant from Williams. Another world stuff from Mercedes. Great stuff from Lance Stroll. Great performance from Ferrari, actually. McLaren just kind of staying pretty solid and on the money. Bad news for Alfa Romeo. I think they look a team in serious trouble, and wouldn't be surprised if the Alfa Romeo sponsorship they pulled out at the end of the 2020 season. Kimi doesn't look a happy man either. But yes, that's it from me today, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you've enjoyed the live stream, and we'll be back to kind of see you guys tomorrow. No problem at all. Tonka Toy Truck, always happy to kind of give a shout out and everything on that front. But see you later, guys. Have a good one. So you F1 fans, keep racing.